afternoon. It is January 5th, 2026. You're listening to a little of column A, little of column B, hosted by Will Alimonos and co-hosted by Zach Bishop. How are you doing today, buddy?
What is going on, Will? I have great news. The NFL, every team right now, 0-0. But you know what? We have a home game.
We got a home game. We did it.
We have a home. No, see, I was thinking I was going to start off with a "we did it." No, that's loser talk. That's loser. That's last year, the year before. We're not making the playoffs. No, we didn't do it. We're 0-0 right now. This is when the real season starts. You remember this. You remember the Tom Brady years. We just waited. We waited all year for a home game to get this thing started. Let's win some games. Let's make a run.
I have expectations. It's changed. Everything's changed.
Right? Don't you feel better with expectations?
No, it's that I have to put these expectations in. All right, a lot of the times we're a little hard on ourselves. Let's be honest, right? We're New England fans. We have very high expectations. We're following something that'll never be possible to follow. All right, this is just an act of Tom Brady that's not going to be matched. So that's something that we're trying to measure up to. That's just impossible. Never going to happen. But we put these expectations on the Patriots, and I start putting them on some of these other teams, and they start falling like house of cards too. So then it starts being more of, why not us? And I ask you again, why not us? Because I started to feel really good about this. I mean, how many of these teams are limping into the playoffs at this point? Nobody seems excited about anything. Everybody that had a chance to make their lives easier this week didn't make their lives easier this week, and I'm supposed to trust these teams now? I feel better and better about the Patriots every week, to the point where there's a massive disappointment on the line right now. I'm hooked. It's too much. Are you going to talk me back, or are we just going to get talked more into this?
No. We got the gas pedal all the way down. We're going as fast as possible, and either we're going to hit the jump, it's going to be glorious, or we're going to smash into the wall. And we're going to find out very quickly, Sunday night, prime time. They said we want the Patriots prime time, and we're going to find out about this whole week schedule. And was it for real? And we really are not a very good team, and we're frauds, and all the negative things that people are chirping? Or is it going to turn out, no, we have Drake Maye, possibly the favorite for MVP, at least the runner-up. That was not anywhere in the realm of possibility at the beginning of this year. So I'm fine with taking that as an accomplishment this year. Stevenson was awesome the second half of the year. He had that struggle at the beginning, and now we got some guys, and I agree with you that there aren't these juggernauts out there. Where even yesterday coming into it, you think, the Ravens, they haven't been good and they've had issues, but it's like, they still have Lamar. Like, they have Lamar, but then he goes out. It's just like, I don't know. I think Josh Allen is the only. Well, they got this guy, but they're paying him so much money that this is kind of what happens with these guys now, is they get paid so much that you can't build around them. And I agree with you. The past 2 weeks, there were all these opportunities to say, I want to win. I'm not messing around. We're done. And there just seems like to be a lot of teams that weren't able to do that. Like, the opportunity was right there. So I think this is a very wide open year. And I think that'll show as we are going to make our picks and you're looking at the lines. The lines are all very close. So I think it's going to make for a very exciting weekend in football.
The line should be close. There's no reason to be sold on anybody. These games are a toss-up, and if you're putting value on something, you can make the same argument otherwise. And I'm over the Patriots schedule thing. I'm supposed to feel better about a Carolina Panthers team that is winning the division after losing to the division rival in the last week and getting a 3-way tie. We're supposed to give them kudos, and the Patriots got to get slack for their schedule. I mean, come on. I mean, I could pick apart every one of these damn teams. I mean, the Rams, are they good or are they not good? They got some big wins. They got some big losses. It feels like when it mattered, they weren't that great, but I think they'll be better than Carolina.
Is Devontae Adams going to play?
They should have the MVP on their team. Seems to be sliding a little bit more that direction. So like, why not this team? What's wrong with this team? This team is what, a 5 seed? What seed are they? A 6 seed? Are they even a 5 seed?
Somewhere down there.
They're a 5 seed. They're a 5 seed playing a 4 seed. That's your potential MVP right now.
They were in a fight with the Cardinals this week, not in week 5. This week. I mean, it ends up they get their act together in a blowout.
I think there's inconsistencies with every one of these teams, and as we go through all these picks, Which any summary for this regular season picks? Because I'm ready to just roll into the playoff ones at this point. We'll do the coaching firing after we do the picks. Let's stay in the games right now.
For Picks and Pick'em, congratulations to Nate and my dad. They tied. It looks like Nate must have got the edge on some sort of tiebreaker. I was one behind. I think you would have been farther than one behind, even with the little mess up. But still, I got 94.1% complete, or I'm in that percentile. So I think that's I'm in that percentile. Yeah. So that's pretty good. For a pretty good year. Always room for improvement.
Well, at least you completed 100% of them. I think only did 90% complete. there's 10%.
Hey, and that's what killed you. You know, sometimes just showing up.
It seems impossible. It seems impossible. I say collusion. I don't know how you. I was already not on track to win, but somebody took the axe to this. I got beef with IT.
Yeah, I don't know who I'm colluding with on this, because I come in very confident as the many-time champion. I don't need to be messing with your picks, but I would like maybe a Pablo Torre finds out kind of situation. And if he could go and look into this, because it does seem impossible that you do a podcast, you make the picks, there's no submit button, the picks are just right there. I did come up with a new possible theory, though, if you want to hear it.
I didn't hit the clear button. There's only one other option, is that you hit the clear. I didn't hit that. You know what I mean? Where you could just like clear.
No,
the whole thing?
I got one other possibility, is that you're normally logged in for the whole year, but then every once in a while you get logged out, and so you made all of the picks, but it wasn't under like your account. It was just under a no account.
You try doing anything at the ESPN app without logging in. I mean, is that theoretically possible? Yes, but that sounds like 90s.
I'm trying to come up with ideas here.
That sounds like 90s internet that allowed you to get around something like that. It doesn't sound like I have to use a triple bypass to get in here. I need a text code and an email code just to turn on the computer at this point.
Hold on. I come up with this theory immediately after. Immediately after your theory was that I colluded with the IT guys at ESPN. Which one is more ridiculous here?
I don't know. You tell me, Mike Ross. All right, that's all I want to know. Did you go to Harvard or not? maybe you're not qualified for here. I'm ready to just roll into the playoffs. It's behind me. I'm happy that I don't have to fill anything out, and that this is just recorded podcast, and that's enough to vouch as evidence. You know, I mean, we could have done some math. Maybe I would have been a little bit closer. I didn't feel like doing that either way. Let's do some picks this week. Saturday, 4:30 on Fox. I'll try to put the streaming or channel thing on everyone, because we're going to be all over the place this week. Rams at the Carolina Panthers. This is a 5 out of 4 seed. This is where we've settled on. I don't see how the Rams don't win this, because I'm not buying in this Carolina nonsense. They lost last week. They lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in a game where they controlled their own destiny. It was the first playoff game opportunity they had, and they didn't win. Are they supposed to win this week just because they're at home? I'm not buying into that. The three-way tie after losing and getting in just seems like a really unfair way to advance to the playoffs. Like that's going to be your story. That's how the Carolina Panthers got out of the first round. They lost the last week to a division rival, three-way tied with the other division, and won in the first round. That doesn't seem to make sense, right? That story doesn't exist. Are you buying that story? That doesn't seem real.
I think the dead giveaway here is, you just mentioned NFC South. 3 of these teams tied. The Panthers, you'll make it in. Awesome. Good for them. But the other 2 teams that have the same record, one of their coaches in the Atlanta Falcons has already been fired. Less than 24 hours, just absolutely, you're done. The GM also, you're out. And Todd Bowles is one of the guys on the hot seat right now. So you only did as well as those guys that one, like I said, immediately fired. So yes, you're in the playoffs. We have seen this happen before. I get that with football, there's just way less games, but I'm still just surprised that this hasn't changed. There hasn't been enough complaining from other organizations saying, hold on, we've got better records. Why are we not playing? Or, the Rams. The Rams have 4 more wins than the Panthers, but because of the way they do it, of each division winner gets a home game, they want the divisions to matter. This is what we get. Where in basketball, I don't think most people even know that there are divisions.
That's kind of how it should be in my. I like the way the NBA does it. We're not hanging division banners. Nobody cares. We only have that purely for the schedule, and to me that makes sense too because we need to have an organized schedule that's easy to repeat and easy to shuffle, and that still makes sense.
Well, and usually there's you got geographical areas to try to consolidate the travel a little bit, as well as the regional rivalries or historical rivalries.
The historical rivalries, I'll give you. The regional things are questionable. All right, we're New England, New York, Buffalo, and Miami. All right, I guess we're on this side, but I don't know, man. Like we didn't want to put DC. Like wouldn't that have? There seems like there was a better way to do certain things, and it's fine. It's fine. I like the groups that we got, and I don't want to change any of all of that. But the rankings of all this, I'm with you. This Carolina team just doesn't feel like a playoff team. There's a lot of teams that don't feel like playoff teams.
They're not. They didn't win 50% of their games.
And they're hosting. Yeah, but does home field really matter?
I think in some places it does.
I think for the West Coast team going east into something cold, I see that mattering. I don't see the crowd being as big of a factor everywhere. I think playoff games are loud. You're going to be used to it. It's going to be loud everywhere. This Carolina crowd is going to be crazy. This is going to be the first time in how long?
I disagree with you right there. I think that warm teams traveling somewhere cold, there's a cold factor, but I think that also those home teams I do not think are as loud because people are wearing gloves and everyone's all in coats and everything, and I think it's like a sound barrier.
Yeah, the problem is it's going to be very warm this weekend on the East Coast. Astronomically warmer than it should be. It's going to be a bailout for some LA teams that shouldn't be happening.
Hold on. It's going to be warm for you as someone from New England. Now imagine back to your San Diego days, and you haven't seen it below 50 degrees in months. There's going to be a 20-degree difference. It's going to be cold for them. It's not crazy, but I think it's still a factor. You don't think it's a factor?
I think it's far less of a factor. I think the rain might be more of a factor. I'm also hoping that it'll ultimately be a lot colder and it'll turn into snow for unbiased reasons, not unrelated to football, purely related to skiing. But that's another prayer that I'm just putting out there. That if this miraculously just turns into a snow game, who says no? Who's upset with that?
Everybody wants snow. Well, in New England.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I want a new one. I feel like we need new footage of a crazy snow game where we had to make some crazy kick again. I want to start the era all over again, Zach. All right, we need a snow playoff game at home.
With a young kicker that makes it.
Boy, I don't want to talk about him either. He makes me nervous. That you got any bets for this game? I got 2.
No bets for this game.
I got Puka Nacua 2+ touchdowns plus 700. Matthew Stafford over 2.5 passing touchdowns. I think he's good for 3 plus 168. Why is that not going to happen? Like, am I crazy? Am I just underestimating this Carolina Panthers team? Like, I've seen the line, like you're saying, and it's like, all right, they're at home, and they beat the Rams like earlier this year, right? Like I think that's like their big win. There's arguments for this team. I don't understand them. Do you have any defense for them at all?
There's a reason that the line is 10.5. I mean, you could look at the Rams were barely able to beat the Falcons just 10 days ago on that Monday night game. So there we get some concern there. For your bet specifically, I would actually be concerned just the other way of they're just not going to need to use those weapons. It's just they're going to score. You don't need to really take Puka out of the garage, and you don't need to push it with Stafford later in the game. And now that the regular season's over, you don't need to just kind of pad your stats and get stuff at the end of a meaningless game.
Whoa, was that an MVP shot? Are you talking crap about them? What do you want to say?
Oh yeah, see, it's over now, so they'll probably just they'll probably take them out of the game. A lot of coaches, that's what they'll do. Is if the game is in hand and you're not really concerned about it, you can take the starters out.
I don't know. Part of me thinks that all the teams that actually played their starters were the smart teams and are going to be way more prepared this week. Perhaps they're injured. Perhaps they're more tired. I don't. Every team's different, and maybe there's a scenario where it's like we could barely even put together a roster by the last week, and it's just a bailout that we can take it off. I get it, but I'm I give credit to
I wish
guys
that
that
there
suit
was
up.
more of a mathematical way to look into this. I think it's relatively new. Definitely this generation of starters, or maybe longer. I don't know what we consider a generation, but 25 years. But to like look at that amount of time, because I just hate it that it's just an auto when we go into the playoffs. If there was a team, if the Chargers lose, it's going to be, oh well, they rested their starters, so they were rusty. But if they win, it's, oh well, look, they rested their guys. That was so smart. Now they were ready to go, and it's built right in, and it's not. You don't even have to be creative about it.
All right, so we both got the Rams.
Yes, I'm going to the Rams.
We should probably just quickly reference that the first round buys ultimately went to Denver and Seattle. I did not have those in my book. Did you?
No, definitely not.
Who would have thought? Shout out to them.
And I think you had Denver the highest out of both of us, but still no, the one seed's it's all the way up there.
I don't even feel good about it because I wasn't rooting for it either. Ultimately, I was like, no, the Pats should have that seed. This team's terrible. This team's got some really bad wins, some serious bailouts. Seattle is nothing sexy either. I don't know what's going on with that offense.
We were tied. We were tied. Just didn't win the tiebreaker.
All right, on to the next game. Saturday, 8 p.m. Prime Video, Amazon. Green Bay Packers at the Chicago Bears. Boy, these are two struggling teams that could arguably be said that they're at their weakest right now. And one of them is just destined to be disappointed because they've kind of overachieved at this point, and they've both put themselves in the position to say, like, all right, well, we did it. We got here. We just got to get through this, and then we're right there. And one of them's not going to do that. Which one of these disasters is actually going to go well?
I like that you put it as a disaster, because I definitely had the Lions and the Vikings up at the top, and that did not happen for either of those teams. So these guys just making the playoffs, awesome. But there has definitely been a lull to end this season. I am going to go with the Packers because I feel like the Bears, I think in general, the Bears are the better team. You have Love coming off of the injury, but this just seems prime for, it's Saturday night, 8 o'clock. Bears fans have been thinking about this. It's a rival. They have a pretty good year. And then it is going to be, I don't know if it's going to be the Packers make a crazy kick or if the Chicago Bears have some sort of double doink situation again. And they're just head in hand sitting there in the stadium going, how did this happen again? And you have to go into the off season where you would have been happy just making the playoffs, but then you make it and then you lose to your rival and you're just miserable. I'm going to pick more. I'm picking the Bears misery more than I'm picking the Packers to win.
How is it not the same way the other way around as well? If the Bears win, and it's like, I can't believe we just lost to Caleb Williams. I bet Caleb doesn't even play well, and they lose. Like that's what it's going to be. That's the thing here. So I don't think anyone's going to play well and win. This is going to be an ugly win. I think
Caleb has played well enough this year that it's not. You don't look at it as like, how did we lose to this guy?
No, but I think coming in, and you'd probably still even say, even after a loss, you'd rather have Love if you're the Packers. I think it's a little bit more of like, all right, first we got a new Detroit on the block, and Minnesota's got new guys. They got new quarterbacks here. It's like, now this guy's going to beat us? Like, you mentioned both these teams lost. So Green Bay lost to Minnesota this past week, and Chicago lost to Detroit this past week. They were, to my understanding, trying to win, right? Is that not fair? I think they had something to gain. No,
I mean, you can just look at it this way: that the Packers are just they're struggling right now. But you could chalk it up to, hey, we didn't have Love. We just wanted to make sure we were healthy. We knew we were in the playoffs, and just deal with it from there. But they're not trending in the right direction.
So I only bring that up because, again, here are two teams that just lost to two teams that aren't in the playoffs. These are two Carolina teams again. Tell me that they're not.
No, they're better. They're better than Carolina. Come on.
They're not coming in full strength though. This isn't a. Neither of these teams
Carolina.
Neither of these teams have an attack.
They were above 500. They have guys. They're not the Panthers.
I think they're just without a threat. Both these teams, and that's kind of how I feel about Carolina. Like, what's the big threat? What am I scared of out of these teams?
Well, Packers have Love coming back, and I think that Caleb this year made a huge jump from his rookie year.
This would be a big jump for him to get the job done here. All right, I'm gonna go with the Bears just
At
because
home.
I disagree with the misery option. I think this is the first time where I think it's it's gonna be Chicago's way, and that you have every reason in the world to believe that all the history is just gonna happen like it always has. And I think this is the team that has constantly overachieved, the team that they've kind of prepared to be in this situation that finally got there. And ultimately, if you're a Bears fan and you walk away from this and you lose, it's gonna suck that you lost to the Packers, but you guys got a quarterback, right? Like, can we just hang on to that for a second? Is that not enough? When was the last time they were able to say that?
I think he had the most passing yards this year in Bears history, which obviously take that with a grain of salt because there's an extra year now that is pretty new in the past few years. But still, it's a step in the right direction.
All right, next game. Sunday, 1:00, Buffalo Bills at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Is this just lined up for Buffalo to be like the adult in the room? Let's just take care of things. I mean, this might be the most vulnerable Buffalo team walking into the playoffs, but it's still Josh Allen. And you're supposed to tell me, I mean, I guess you could tell me this is probably the most trusting Jacksonville team, but it's still Jacksonville. Doesn't it just feel wrong? Are you going to trust Jacksonville at home?
I will not be trusting Jacksonville at home this week. I did trust them last week. I had Jags minus 11.5. They go down 7-0. And I said, well, this is just the Titans. And then they go on and score 41 unanswered. But this is not so much about the one team. It's about Josh Allen. And just Monday when we go do the podcast next week, if I've picking Trevor Lawrence, I'm going to look at myself in the mirror and go, how'd you think that a Trevor Lawrence team is going to beat a Josh Allen team? And I get it. This is football. There are a lot of other moving parts. The Buffalo run defense is like one of the worst in the league. That's a problem. It's a pretty big problem going into the playoffs. But I just feel if it's anywhere near close, and I've seen it happen up close in person this year, even if sometimes it's not close, it's Josh Allen can just make all of these moves that no other quarterback can make. And he has done it before. He has the confidence. He knows the certain buttons he's got to push. And so, it might not be so much of this one team's better than the other. It's just I've seen the Jags and I've seen them melt down and I've seen the problem and I've seen Josh Allen be able to just handle business. And I don't know, maybe it'll happen where it's happened to him before of he does every single thing and then he goes against Mahomes and maybe Trevor Lawrence can step it up. But I'm going with Josh Allen. I'm going with Bills. I actually have the Bills money line minus 120.
Oh, wow. I'm going with Buffalo as well, but I have in my notes here that Jacksonville had a better season than Buffalo, but I still want Buffalo in the playoffs. I want Josh Allen in the playoffs, or at least I don't want Trevor Lawrence over Josh Allen in the playoffs. That is, we've reached a new difference in what I've said earlier, and Jacksonville had a better season than Buffalo. That would be a new opinion of Trevor Lawrence, I think, getting this job done. And
this was a terrific Trevor Lawrence year.
If they don't get it done, I think it's also like it's fine. They have their quarterback. I disagree with it entirely, but you know what? They got this far, and if they win this game, I'll feel differently about it. But until then, I'm going with Josh Allen. I think that's. I almost want him in the playoffs too. Though, like, well, I got to watch these other games. Like, we need good quarterbacks in here. We can't just. We already got rid of so many. Look who's in. We can't lose Josh Allen. The ratings don't want that. The NFL script writing can't bail this out, right? It's got to be Buffalo.
Last year in their stadium, I guess they won't. They can't go back because they're the 6th seed. But
all right, next game, Sunday 4:30 on Fox. San Francisco 49ers at the Philadelphia Eagles. Man, is anybody feeling good going into the playoffs? Like, well, who's the teams that are like, yeah, they this is great. They're super excited. Everyone feels like they're limping into it. Neither of these teams should be excited. I think they're both looking at the schedule being like, oh, wow, it's this time of year already. We have to do this. Who you got in this one?
This one, I don't like it. I'm going with the Eagles. I'm just trying to kind of get my bearings right here. I feel like a lot of this year, the Eagles have won, but like the expectations have just been higher and there's been just issues. And so it's even a lot of their fans are pushing it towards me of like, oh, this isn't a very good team. But it's like, all right, hold on. why have they won so many games, but it still doesn't feel right? And I think maybe I'm underestimating the Seahawks, but the Seahawks absolutely shut down the 49ers. They showed Christian McCaffrey on the sideline just getting all sorts of work done, where it's getting towards the end of the year. I don't know how much is left in the tank there, but he had one of his worst games of the year, and I'm gonna go with the Eagles. But this is the one where the others I have like a vision of how it could go. This one I could see the Eagles just all of a sudden in the first half just Hurts can't complete a pass. He goes 0 for 6 on completions, and they don't have any yards. It could be super weird.
Hey, I have other concerns for the San Francisco 49ers. I don't think the Niners defense is very good, and I think holding Seattle to 13 is viewed as like, oh, they got their act together after the Bears kind of did whatever they want with them in like 5 minutes of actual time. I think Philly's going to have their way with them, and that last week reflects actually how poor Seattle's offense has been, and it was just a bailout to a bad San Francisco Niners defense. So I don't feel good about that. I don't feel good that they weren't able to really control the time of possession, and I don't feel good that the other team that knows the Niners are going to try to control time of possession with McCaffrey have, I don't know, Saquon Barkley on the other side. That seems like a pretty decent counter of how we can kind of control the time as well. It just seems like the Niners, if they were healthy, I'd feel a little bit better about it, but they're just not. And this is the wrong team to go in to the week not healthy and be like, maybe we can outsmart them and we'll just go all out with McCaffrey. And I'm sure they'll try. But I think Philly's just got a little too much skill set on the other side of the line that's going to be too much for the Niners to account for. This could also be just a miserable Philly team that just checks out the second they can. Be like, this season can be over. It's over.
Yeah, a bunch of them have Super Bowl rings. Where it's just, this is not going our way. Everyone's mad, just like the fans say.
But it can also just be all media, and that behind the scenes in between like the X's and O's, like you said, this team wins a lot and have won even more recently. I don't know. We'll see this week. I don't feel good about any of these playoff games, though. None of these are like locks. Next one, Sunday.
Except for the Rams.
Well, we say that.
Except for the Rams, right? You want to lock that in?
I'm not going to lock it in because I'd rather see the Rams go home, man. I got playoff expectations right now. I'm already countering like what opponents we'd want to face. I'd much rather face Bryce Young in some world, wouldn't you?
Oh, big time.
Sunday night, 8 p.m., NBC and Peacock, Los Angeles Chargers at the New England Patriots. Let's light them up, Zach. Let's put up some points. I don't know what the weather's going to be. It's probably rainy in 40s. I don't know if that's miserable or perfect. It's
8 o'clock. Temperature's going to go down. I'm seeing on ESPN 32 degrees.
Harbaugh has changed the Chargers team. He has certainly changed and turned this franchise around. This doesn't feel like his best version of that, and I would ultimately be shocked if this was his most successful playoff version of. I think he did kind of a Steelers imitation this year of put together a lot of pieces that maybe made a lot of sense coming in and then dealt with a whole bunch of injuries, and somehow here we are. He's in. It doesn't seem like they have the same punch and some of the same zing they've had in the past. I would like to see more of it. This would be the first week I would see it, but I feel like the Patriots have an actual threat in the other end. We can score offensively consistently, and I like we built up the confidence of all the running backs last week. We should be coming into this game feeling good and playing good, unlike every other team that just doesn't feel like that. Does anyone else feel like the same way we do? Is it just the schedule, and we're being punished for feeling good about ourselves?
I don't know. It seems like we've won a lot of games, and even against these bad teams, especially in the second half, it hasn't been we're eking out wins or it doesn't look right. It's coming in, it's like, well, of course you're supposed to beat the Dolphins. It's like, sure, well, we killed them, and we killed them in the second half. We just squished it. There was no I don't know, maybe you're gonna pull it out. Seeing some of these other teams that was kind of in the mix, and then they pulled it out at the end. But Herbert has had a hand injury, non-throwing hand for weeks now. He took week 18 off. Clearly, it's a concern for the Chargers enough that they didn't play him. So I would be concerned if I were the Chargers about his health. But this is exactly where we want to be.
No, hold on. I want to stay on the quarterback situation because you're saying like he's playing with a broken hand as if they don't have a backup quarterback. because they don't have a backup quarterback. They did not play a quarterback this past weekend. I refuse to call Lance a quarterback. That's not quarterbacking. Like that's I don't. That's like a run through coach out there. Like that's it's barely the guy doesn't throw the ball, and when he does, he's inaccurate. The reason Herbert's playing with a broken hand is they just don't have another option. Like that was their option.
With all of the schedule concerns and health concerns, I like how far away are we getting from NBA? Also, this is not just NFL specific. Where at the end of the year, these games of teams just saying, "Hey, we're just done." Like we're done. I mean, obviously the Chargers season isn't done, but they had no interest in playing that game. So you could just say, "Hey, not a big deal. Like we're just not playing this."
I would have rather had a tryout than watch Lance play another snap. I'm sorry, but like they're talking about like how lucky the Niners are that they got bailed out with all this. Like they are lucky that Purdy panned out. That was a bad pick. This guy's on his third team right now. He finally got to play an entire game, and I don't know if I'll ever get that chance again. I didn't get that feel. Like this was a game that didn't really even matter, and like there was
it mattered to us.
There was no good take. And I'm saying for him though, like there's not one positive takeaway of that. There wasn't one. I mean, maybe there's a play or two, but there's not a lot of moments where it's like, oh man, at least he got this, and you could see some potential of it all. I didn't see anything. Didn't see nothing. So they don't have another quarterback. So I would. I'm not targeting that hand or anything, but there, like you said, there is an injury coming into this, of which a playoff game, and
it's gonna be freezing. It's New England in January. It's gonna be cold. 32 degrees. That's real cold. It's not ski cold, but that's real cold. You're out there playing, especially coming from California.
Yeah, and we shouldn't be bothered by that. I think we'll be able to run the ball against them. I know Drake Maye is going to have a lot of expectations on putting up big numbers, but I think the way we ran the ball,
I don't think he does. I really don't think he does.
I think the attention he's gotten though is this expectation that he makes all these big play throws, and it's like no, we run the ball a lot. Like with that,
I mean, he does, but we started that game. He's fighting for his MVP life. We need to win to make sure we still have a chance at the 1 seed, and then I think we still could have lost the 2 seed to the Jags if we had lost. But we start the game with 3 runs and turns into a touchdown, and we scored more rushing than throwing. I think it would be a mistake to have been like an NFL fan and know like the Tom Brady Patriots and see, oh, the Patriots are good again. Oh, they have like an MVP candidate and think, oh, he just slings it all over the place. He has the ability to make some really deep throws, which has been a lot of fun this year. But there's a lot more under the hood of running the ball.
No fumbles this week. That's all I want. I'd actually almost accept a loss. But if we lost without having any fumbles, I could sleep well at night. The fumbles are going to drive me nuts, though. If we have one in a playoff game, I don't know. I'm not ready because I don't like Henderson. I don't know if
it doesn't sound like us.
It doesn't sound like us. I'm not impressed with our Henderson.
Doesn't sound like us.
I'm kind of out on him. I think teams know. For whatever reason, we put him in all these weird plays, and it seems like the teams just know the weird plays coming the second he's in, and then we try to do like a regular play with him, and it just doesn't work. I don't know. You know what I mean? I feel like we're using him as a decoy, and then I'd rather use him as like a 50-50 back with Stevenson. And there's still room for growth. Maybe we're saving him for something. I'm just hoping for that. I'd like to see that speed just torment one of these teams on film one time. Nobody's looking back at the preseason footage anymore. They want to see what you did in the regular season. I would love to just torment these teams on film to see him just light up something up the sideline.
The beginning of the year, there was big time struggle with him. Everybody was saying it, like, who is this guy? You know, he's got to get his act together. You know, Stevenson's fumbling all over the place, and this other guy can't get on the field. You know, what are we doing? Vrabel won't play him. But in the second half, he's played well, and I think he's got speed. I think that he has a big play potential, and this isn't a 7-game series. This is one game. He breaks one 40-yard run. You know, that could be the game right there.
All right, last game. We both got the Pats, right? Does that need to be said?
Both, yes.
Monday.
So I'll be going with the Patriots.
8:15 on ESPN and ABC. Houston Texans at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Somehow, some way, here we are. I don't know if Houston should be above this team or if I just want them to be, but there's something about the Steelers team they got here, man. Rodgers is back in the playoffs. The oldest defense is now in the playoffs. I don't know if that's an advantage or a disadvantage, but the idea of having it was for these sort of situations, and they're at home for whatever that means. It might mean something a little bit more. Pittsburgh, East Coast here, might have a little bit of weather. I don't know who's supposed to win this game. Last night was a disaster on top of a disaster that just somehow ended up with Pittsburgh winning. We should talk about that game. What do you get out of this Baltimore? Did they blow it? Did Baltimore blow it?
Oh, big time. Big time. Coming in. I mean, it was on the road, but they were supposed to win. They had Lamar. They have Derrick Henry. They have the big run from Derrick Henry right off to start. I mean, he did have a lot of carries, but then it just felt like he disappeared for a while. And you said, hey, this isn't even on the main screen. It's a playoff. It's a play-in game. Whoever wins gets it, and that was still not a priority for you. You promised me you were going to stay up, and then I couldn't even blame you because it was just Rodgers is not throwing it very far. Lamar can't seem to figure it out, and especially after that Derrick Henry run, it was just kind of a typical AFC North just slugfest. It was just a rock fight until the second half of that fourth quarter. And it turned into two completely different teams. I think it had a lot to do with the two secondary guys from the Ravens getting hurt. So that's not helpful. But all of a sudden, it is back and forth. But then even towards the end, the Steelers score, and both these secondaries, they must have like ultra backups in there because these wide receivers, they weren't making these amazing catches and making this happen. It was, these are broken plays, and these wide receivers are wide open. And then the Steelers score. The kicker misses the extra point. And looking at the time, it was, there's just enough time for them to get into field goal range if they can get one good return. And they got one good return, and they still kind of struggled. And then I don't know what the Ravens were doing. There was 12 seconds. They still had time. It was, I think, a 42-yard kick from your rookie. Maybe you're just so used to having Justin Tucker of, hey, there's a better chance that we're going to turn this over trying to get it closer than Justin Tucker missing, but it's not Justin Tucker back there anymore. And again, the Ravens just lose at the end of the year in just heartbreaking fashion.
They weren't going anywhere. This team was done. But now, if they'd gotten in, I would have felt the same way and made the same argument I just made about Pittsburgh. It's all right. Now this veteran team, this team that you have some actual things to be scared of, that's had playoff success, is in the playoffs and would have been hosting at home as well. So like that's the other. They went from hosting to being out. Like that's
in one play, one kicker miss, a makeable kick. Pittsburgh's not the easiest place to make a field goal, but still.
Are you picking Pittsburgh this week?
No. I watched that game last night.
Are you sure? I think that's the trap. What if they just do that to the other team too? And it's just a halt. This Houston offense has been stuck in the mud before.
Sure.
Right? And their defense is good.
It's for sure what can happen. And I messaged you, I think it was in the third. And I think the Steelers might have even been losing at that point. But they were one strike away. I think they were down 3 and just said, this is exactly where they want to be. But I think that Houston this year, I think their defense is better, and I think their offense has the potential to be better. Maybe not at peak Lamar, Derrick Henry, all of that, but if they can get, say a 10, a 12-point lead, I just don't think that Rodgers is going to be able to throw it far enough. I don't think there's going to be enough to make it happen.
I think the Houston defense can win this game on its own. But that being said, it might just make it the exact game that Pittsburgh wants, and that we're just playing in the teens, and we're just one Rodgers Hail Mary away before it happens again.
Well, Rodgers is not really throwing it deep very often. They are getting Metcalf back, and I think that's going to help, but I don't like it.
I don't like picking against Pittsburgh. I'll be honest. I think Houston's easily the better team, and it is the scarier long run opponent.
What are you talking about? This is the perfect time to go against the Steelers. You could pick for them or against them for the entire year, and you're pretty much going to go 50-50. You might as well go for them, and you're going to go just above. Tomlin, 19 years, never a losing season. Very impressive. And then he gets to the playoffs because he dragged the team along to the playoffs, and they're not a playoff good team.
All right, I got Houston. We did it.
This is the first time possibly ever that Houston is not playing the Saturday 4:30 game.
I thought for sure we were going to end up playing Houston, that we were going to be the Saturday at like noon game or whatever. Yeah, their early game.
The 4:30.
I thought for sure that was going to be us. It's not us. It's going to be them. They're on Monday night. This hopefully isn't. That game was rough. That Baltimore-Pittsburgh game. I couldn't have been more invested and cared less. Like, I tried. I really did. This better not be rough.
They doubled all the points at the very end.
It didn't even
was
make sense.
Two different games, two different teams.
I thought it was AI. It was like the entire thing was in a short and 30-second summary, which was the other ridiculous thing. It was like, I watched everything but this part. and this is what happens?
That was the part. That was the part you should have watched.
All right, we both got Houston. What do we got for bets this week?
My bet for this week, it is going to be the Bills money line, -120.
I got Puka, 2 touchdowns, plus 700. College football, Zach. We're getting through the playoff.
Oh, boy.
I think we have good teams, or at least I think we had good schools, and now we have better teams. I'm not sure what's going on. There's probably only one team that should feel good about advancing this week, and every other school should know that they're on watch. The crown is not safe. Ohio State is out. Georgia is out. Oregon is out. And Alabama are out.
No, Oregon's in.
Oregon's in. Who's out? Who else is out? Oh, whatever.
Texas Tech.
Texas Tech is out. Texas Tech is out.
Who cares?
I just feel like I named all the good college schools and they're out. Who's still in, Zach?
I will tell you who's in. Miami. They're in. Indiana. Yes, that Indiana. The basketball school. They are in. Ole Miss. Yeah, the team that lost their coach to LSU. Yeah, they're in. And, a lot of people thought they were out, but no, Oregon very much in.
Sorry, misread. Bad notes. Who's going to win this week? I don't really want to focus on it all. I could humiliate all of these schools for blowing it and, worrying about the rankings and arguing about who's in and who's out. And we put these guys in because we always feel safe. And they're all out. They're all gone, Zach. And Miami is somehow advanced one more time. I think the only team that should feel good about everything is Indiana, as you mentioned. That school, the basketball school, I think is the only one that appears to be dominant, or at least appears to at least have their stuff together that I don't think any of the other teams did. Is that fair to say that they got to have, I don't know, highest confidence mark going into the week?
I came in saying I didn't think that Alabama really deserved to be there with their losses this year, but they put them in, and just kind of like some of the stuff we talked with the Patriots. Indiana didn't eke this out. They dominated them. Some of the other games, even with Miami up by double digits at the half, I just thought it's like Ohio State's going to figure this out. They're going to figure this out. It's on New Year's Eve. So, there's other stuff going on. But at no point did I feel like I really needed to lock in until the very end when it was actually, it was too late. I was just like, oh, I'm going to be playing games. I'm going to be, distracted. I'm going to look up and all of a sudden Ohio State is going to have scored 3 times in a row and this little Cinderella Miami run is over. So I was surprised by that. I kind of thought the same thing with Ole Miss, Georgia, also being, at nighttime and just, Georgia's got to be better. I guess both SEC, but it's Georgia. Like Georgia's just, they're going to turn it on. They're going to make it happen. And then they just made mistakes down the stretch.
Who's going to win this week?
This week, I'm going to be going with Ole Miss, and I'm going to be going with Indiana. But similar to the NFL, Miami is a 3-point favorite, and Indiana is a 3.5-point favorite. So all these games this week have the potential to be close. It's never for sure thing, but at least Vegas is thinking, hey, these are going to be some close games. So good time to be watching football.
Is it a playoff success that either number 10 Miami or number 6 Ole Miss is advancing to the finals? We're getting one of them. It's almost like them against the world at this point. No?
No, it's better this year than it was last year where they kind of fixed it. But this is the kind of the idea of you don't get to play nearly as many games as you do in basketball. So here's the opportunity, and it's one and done. There are going to be there are going to be more upsets in football than in basketball, just because it's one game. And last year, I think like I said, last year was much goofier. They're figuring it out. I think Ohio State was like an 8 seed. Like they were way down there. The way it was working out, how they gave the automatic bids and they got the top seeds. So no, I don't think it's bad. Specifically because they just played the games last week.
I'm excited for it. I got Miami and Indiana. No real talk here. Just I think that'll be funny to have a 10 versus 1. It's really all I'm rooting for.
Keep in mind that they're not going head to head with the NFL. So kind of based off of how last week's went, there will be Miami Ole Miss is on Thursday night, and then Oregon Indiana will be on Friday night. So you can watch Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday playoff football.
Hopefully the games are good. That's all I'm asking for. All right, anything else from them?
That is it for football.
College basketball. We're in conference time. We're playing our rivals, and things are getting messy. I got issues. It's a battle out there, Zach. Nobody's safe. I don't know if you've heard.
Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
No, you go first. You survived. I didn't survive.
Barely. So, in Duke's last 4 games, they're actually, since the Michigan State game, I think you guys might have broke us somehow. Like we escaped that game, but then since then, it just has not been where it's expected to be. I was in person for the Texas Tech game, and it's only a 1-point loss. All these other games I'm talking about were games that we won, but going against Georgia Tech on New Year's Eve, and then on Saturday going against Florida State. It's Christmas, New Year's time. I got a lot of stuff going on. So I was not able to be in front of my TV. So I think this might be my fault, and I didn't make it a priority. And I was in the car for these games that should not have been anything to sweat about. And these were both very sweaty games. It was not fun to be doing that in the car. And if we come out with the effort that we came out with in these last 4 games, Louisville is going to blow us off the court tomorrow. It is going to be so ugly. We had talked last week, and we were both mentioning how, or like when the next time one of our teams would be an underdog. Last week, it was probably unlikely, and I shouldn't say it was unlikely. It was Duke was probably going to be favored by 1 to 2 points. Some of the early lines are coming out, and Duke is an underdog, and it's because of the way they played the past 2 weeks against these teams that are not good. Georgia Tech and Florida State, they are at the bottom. They're at the bottom of the ACC. They've had some bad losses that make no sense. And for sure, you get to play at Cameron, you're playing Duke, you're playing against future NBA guys, you step it up a little bit. But if you are supposed to be these NBA guys, you also step it up and you squash this. So I am concerned about tomorrow. I will not be taking it lightly. I will be back in front of my TV, and I am taking it very seriously.
Nebraska's kind of gotten the best of a lot of teams already this year, so there's a really good chance that they're just good. I was just more mad that, we talked about the Steelers type of game that they would win. They kind of beat us at our own game, and that's what I was more bothered by, that it's like, there's another Michigan State out there. Like,
58-56.
They're supposed to be worried about us.
I would have bet so much. It was like a 50-something point game against, Michigan State against a good team. It's like, oh yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure, you guys.
So that was the more bummer of that. They looked us in our eye and were like, no, we can do a stalemate. We can do a blinking contest and just see what happens. And it's just a defensive game. It's gritty, and we fell into every single trap and we lost. We could have won. It was a winnable game, and that is the one thing I will take away from it, is that we haven't lost a game that I didn't think we could have won. And that's a good feeling, at least about my team. There's certainly a different expectation and ceiling and I don't know, I guess attractiveness in playing. We're going to have a lot of games like that. I'm not shocked we lost it. I was more just bummed that we've won those games this year so far, those tight games. And I think we'll pressure a lot of other teams into it. But Nebraska might just be good too. So that would also help everything, right? If Nebraska's just good.
Nebraska is for sure one of the biggest surprises of the year so far. Started the year at 51 on KenPom. They're down to 22. They just cracked the top 10 in the AP poll. They have the nation's longest active win streak because they haven't lost this year, and it goes back to last year where most teams lose their last game. That's just how it works. But they won one of those not real tournaments. And I was about to look it up as a good podcast host, and I said, no, if you're not playing in the main dance, you don't deserve to you get talked about last year. But they are undefeated this year. It's very impressive. They have won at Illinois, beat you guys at their place. What did you think about Tom Izzo's quotes about the court storming?
You already know how I feel about court storming. Well, who cares what Izzo thinks? He's just an old man, doesn't understand the current times. I did think
he is a head coach, so
I I think it's ridiculous. So what do you want me to say? That I'm in agreement with Izzo?
I don't think you are in agreement with him.
Oh, he wants to have it. I want to get rid of it. He likes having it.
Yeah, he liked it.
Oh man, I didn't hear that.
His quote was, "I loved it."
Wow.
I told my AD, I told my commissioner, I understand we got to be careful and all that, but I absolutely loved it. Was I worried about anybody? I was hoping I got stomped on, to be very honest with you.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want those people to react any differently. They were lining up back there. I was thinking to myself, go for it.
I thought it was a premature storm. I don't think we were the team that. I don't know.
It's Nebraska.
I've already expressed this opinion. So what?
What do you mean it's premature?
All right, fine. Then
when have you ever gone into a game or gone into a season and been like, oh man, like what I'm seeing out of Nebraska?
I guess I just thought that they've already had some very big wins this year, and I understand beating Michigan State being a bigger win, but at what point are you just a team that gets these wins? We're gonna storm every single game because they could storm every game if we're doing that. They could storm every game.
Not this year. This is by far their biggest win.
Zach, so they're supposed to have what, 22 storms?
At Illinois?
22 storms this year. Yay! 22 storms for Nebraska.
Which game before this would you have liked them to storm?
I thought the Illinois was a pretty high ranked. Illinois.
It was at Illinois.
Yeah, I think
you can't storm at the other person's barn.
Oh, there's there are rules to this. I thought it didn't matter. I thought you could just do whatever you wanted.
How are you going to storm at somebody else's place? That doesn't even make any sense. Your crowd isn't there.
I'm very against it. So they seem to find a way to prevent it from happening at other people's places. It's good. It's good. All right, we need to move on from this because we have so many more things to talk about. Can we talk about actual teams? I don't want to talk about court storming and coaches' comments after the game. I mean, we have an hour and a half of content to try to squeeze into an hour here.
Okay. I want to make sure everybody heard that. So tomorrow, when Louisville, court storms, and then next week I get to say, oh no, I don't want to talk about court storming. I don't want to talk about coaches. I want to talk about other stuff.
They're allowed to storm. I understand this reasoning a little bit more than the normal reasonings. It's way more of an upset. I understand that they're a school that has never been in these sort of grounds or these sort of situations for basketball, so that there's a reason to storm. I'm with you. There's a good argument for this. There's not always a good argument, though. Most storms aren't as justified, is what I'm saying.
Storm all the time. It's only a matter of time before they get rid of it, so take advantage of it now.
Anything else for college basketball? Get me the hell out of here. I forgot about the coaching firing already, too. I don't know when we're going to get that in.
They can go in the offseason. The other big news was Alabama just took it to Kentucky on Saturday. There was kind of some thoughts that Kentucky had kind of figured it out with their hurt guys getting back, but seems like that might not all the way be the case. But yeah, coming up this week, we have Duke at Louisville tomorrow, Tuesday. We have Alabama at Vandy on Wednesday, and that is not just because of the Vandy's goofy home court. I think that's going to be legitimately a good game. Then Saturday, competing with some NFL later in the day, but if you're looking for something before that football is going to start, I can give you Tennessee at Florida at noon, Houston at Baylor. Houston was in a tight one earlier this week at 1, Arkansas at Auburn at 6, and then a big one in the Big Ten on Sunday, Illinois at Iowa.
Some fun games coming up. I've started crossing teams off though. I crossed off Tennessee. I'm not scared of them anymore. They're going to lose.
What about Florida?
Oh, I crossed them off long before all that. Their guard play's terrible. I would love to play their guards. They don't know what they're doing. The big men certainly have game controlling abilities, both on the defensive end, rebounding, and all of that. And if you're small, you're probably going to lose to Florida. But if you know what you're doing, you got the right bigs, you can box out, and you can take care of the ball, and you're able to actually put pressure on those guards, I think you're going to be in a really good position. Vandy's
See, I
good,
don't
though.
like that you've crossed off 1.5 teams that Duke has already beaten this year.
I think it was still a good win. I think they're very much still like Kentucky, though. It's not like this is an untalented roster of people. Like, they haven't put together wins, but that doesn't mean it's easy to beat them. I don't think it's easy to beat any of the teams I just said. I just don't think that they have title hopes.
I like it. Cross them off.
I can cross off some more. You want to cross off some more?
Well, I think we got other stuff we got to talk about. There's a lot of teams in college.
No, I think Kansas needs to be brought up. How do we feel about that? I'm not. I actually feel better about the Peterson kid. I'm more impressed with his abilities, and I see the vision now of why he's a projected high draft pick. I don't know why that doesn't really add up to victories, or it seems like they're in a close game every week. No take on Kansas.
I'm willing to give Kansas a little more time. I'm willing to give Kansas a little more time just because they have a top sort of NBA guy, and I think if you have one of those guys and he figures it out, and they don't have a lot of time together, and he's been hurt for a good chunk of this, so I would still keep them in the mix, but I'm fine with you crossing them off.
I suppose
Are you gonna cross off every team that Duke's won't beat?
No. I'm just going down Ken Palm, and I just thought, I guess UCF is now ranked this week, so like the win looks different. Like they just snuck in. What are they, like 24 or something right now? So like they lost
25. Where if you'd asked me, I wouldn't have known immediately that they had made it.
Yeah, so like the win looks better now, versus like Michigan State. I think what did we play? USC tonight. I think they were 24 or 22 like recently this week, and now they're unranked. So like that's another one where I coming into this game, I thought we were playing a ranked game. This probably would have been mentioned on the podcast, and now they're just outside, and it's a different. It's not far off though. You know what I mean?
I hear what you're saying, and sometimes it can be very frustrating where a casual go look at it, or maybe a troll and say, "Oh, you lost to an unranked team." It's like, okay, I guess technically unranked, but you can see they got the votes, so they're in the top 30, and they're going to be ranked next week.
Yeah, so I'm picking on Kansas, who just currently lost to another 25 ranked team. It's like, all right, well those are the teams you should be vulnerable to, and maybe it's not as much of a red flag as I want it to be. All right, on to the NBA. We made some NBA futures, say way back when, before the season started. We've got some updates, seeing how we are now. It's January 5th, 2026. You want to go first? You want to analyze mine? What do you want to do?
I can go first with mine. Just I got that on the left-hand side. So this was starting September 29th. And so this is before, right before the season started, or maybe right into the season starting. And so we did one per week. My first one was Celtics over 45 wins plus 178. So that's looking pretty good. The update for that is the Celtics over under is 52.5 minus 110.
All right, you're in range. I think you're going to be good.
All right. Actually, I've decided I'm changing the format. Just off the top of my head. We'll just do it week by week. So the next one. So not the next one. Yours for that was that the Pacers would make the playoffs. Plus 123. You currently cannot bet on that. They're not mathematically eliminated, but that is we're chalking that one up to a loss.
Yeah, that one's not good. I didn't feel good about that. I mean, it's not even that they're a fringe and that they can't even do it. They're dead last in the East for majority of this season.
I don't hate it. It's almost like it's not exactly this way, but it's almost like a hedge on the Celtics, where it's like kind of thinking one of these teams is just going to kind of figure it out. And they only had to make the playoffs. So it's just like, hey, you win the play-in, one game, you're in, even if you're an 8 seed. So I could see like there was a realm where I definitely didn't think they were going to be this bad, like off the board. So I think it's reasonable.
There's so many actually bad teams in the East that I just thought even this team at its worst day is better than the 4 worst teams. And that's like within range now. You know what I mean? Like but they are not within range. Next week, what do we got? Week after that.
The next week, I had the Lakers under 49.5 minus 114. The Lakers, I thought were doing worse, but apparently not. Or I did like the math wrong, because their over under right now is still 49.5, but it's plus 100 for the for the under. So Vegas thinks there's a little bit better chance that they're going to make it. So that's basically still kind of where I locked it in. The next one, this is the real big one. This is what we're going to have to have a conversation on. You had Chet, Defensive Player of the Year, plus 700. He currently is minus 195.
Oh boy.
What do you think? Do you think you should hedge here? Do you think you should buy out of this position? I mean, especially with, the limits. If he gets hurt, you get no money. If I could give you, if I said I'd give you, two units for 1 unit of this, would you take that? Would you get out?
I think I would. But it's just because that's the risk of a future, and I'm used to making daily bets, and it's hard to hold out for it all, and it's also like it's an actual investment at this point, So, and I look at the injuries, and part of the futures that I have added today entirely relate to something going wrong for something else that is expected to happen. So, like now that he's the favorite, and I can't get these odds anymore, I'm holding out, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen. I feel like it was a good call by me, though. This is entirely based on Wemby missing time, and it's like pick the second guy.
Yep, that's exactly how you explained it, and that all makes sense. Next week, I had that the Cavs were going to win the NBA Cup at plus 600. That did not happen, so that's a loss. That's a loss for me. You had the Hawks were going to win the division. That was plus 155. It is now plus 650. Trae Young is hurt. There are rumors he was going to be traded. Some of the younger guys are looking good. It seems like when Trae plays, they don't win. I think it's kind of too small a sample size to really just blame there. Porzingis is still sick. I guess from last year, he is not really playing much. A lot of their offseason moves just have not exactly panned out the way that they thought.
I think this is the best thing for Atlanta, though. They're going to get off of Trae. They're going to be less reliable on Porzingis, and those young guys. Jalen Johnson, you didn't think was going to be ready this year. I think he's ready. I think that's a win. I don't know how I put that into an odds, but that seems like a win for me. He's ready. He's the guy. Get rid of Trae.
This is not a victory lap because I don't think there's any way to really have known this, but Brad Stevens did have to make a trades and had to pick which guys to get rid of, and it was pretty well known. You're going to keep the Jays, but there are other guys, they're Peyton Pritchard, Derek White. There are other guys on this team that they decided to hold on to. And those guys have been playing basketball. And, Drew and Porzingis have not really played much this year. So,
man, go farther back. Time Lord is still not playing.
Yeah.
Imagine we held out for that. We would still be saying.
And Smart was hurt for a while. So I'm wondering if teams are going to start almost like what happened with Danny. Of we're not gonna pick up the phone when you call.
We didn't get the same value back for all of those as we gave up for them, though.
No,
right?
and that's to say this isn't some sort of victory lap. I'm not happy. Those guys won world championship with us. I would prefer that they were playing. It's something that I saw pointed out, and it's unfortunate that for them. But just kind of looking back, especially when those trades happened, where we basically gave them away. So I don't think either of those teams are mad beyond just like, hey, this is not the most fun to have guys that don't play. But I mean, for the price that we got back, it's like, yeah, this is it. This is the bottom of the barrel.
I might rather be Atlanta than Cleveland. Cleveland's so tied in over the double apron, they can't make changes. Like they can only shed big cap, and that's a big change. It's kind of like what the Celtics just did this year. It's working out for us. I would challenge anyone else to say you're going to shed cap on two max guys and you're going to lose your best player to an injury and still be in the mix. It's certainly easier said than done. I think I'd rather be in Atlanta's situation where I already know I got the nice young guys here. The trade contract is just the hard part. I have to find someone who's willing to absorb that, and I have no idea who that would be. I can't even like pinpoint of like a team that could use this, that could afford this, that is worth it for. That there's no good scenario of it. He has to have less money, and I don't know how they do that. All right, last bet of the week. What do we got? One more, right? Or future.
The last one. Yeah, the last future. I had Naz Reid as 6th man of the year. He was 10-1. Now he is the favorite at just under 5-1.
Okay.
So
all right. That's a good one.
Right. Trending in the right direction. Still a long way to go. I don't think I'm not locking in as that anywhere near in as a win, but good to see him having moved the way up. And then the last one for you is that the Bulls are going to make the playoffs. That was plus 300. That is down to, or I guess up technically to plus 470. So they're trending in the wrong direction for you.
They're in the 10. They're within the 10, though. All right, they're 9 right now. That's not out of it. It's not impossible. They will probably miss the playoffs. So I'll be watching this down to the last playing game
The playing game.
to
Yep.
see if they get in or out, of which they'll probably be out. But you know what? Who knows? I'd be curious to see if they could make any moves at the trade deadline here. They certainly have some pieces, and they don't have to sell anymore to Sacramento now. I think they have some pieces that other teams might actually want. I don't know. I don't think that's a terrible bet either. I'm not doubling down on it though. Is really what I'm walking away from it here. All right, any new futures you want to throw out there?
So I do have a new future, pretty directly tied to one of yours. One of yours that's working out really well so far. You have the Chet one. I'm going Amen Thompson, Defensive Player of the Year at 10-1 right now, and I'm using just the exact same logic that you used, but rather than picking the second guy, I'm picking the third guy because Chet could get hurt. That's just a toss up. OKC is definitely on a little bit of a skid right now. I don't think that's going to knock him out, but I think that Miami, they're only a few games. They're in the play-in right now. They have a little bit of a slide. I don't think you're going to reward a guy that's the best defender on a play-in. Where I think the Rockets, they're not as high as I would like, but the Nuggets, the Lakers, they make a little bit of a move up, and now all of a sudden they're on TV all the time. I think that a lot of these awards are narrative based, and so if you have a team making a playoff push, you got a young guy. I think that 10-1 is just in the spot right where I want it.
I like it. I think it's a good bet. The Nuggets are inevitably going to be on a tailspin. I can't imagine them being able to do it without Jokic and now do it without Valanciunas, of which the relief that they finally had that they haven't had any other year, and now the backup's out. It's a new nightmare over there in Denver. They are the 4 seed right now, but it is tight. There's a couple losses and they could drop very, very far. I'm not worried about them missing the playoffs, but if you're a Rockets team that is currently trailing them as a 5 seed, there's room for growth. And you're not going to have to do anything beyond just watch what the Nuggets do over the next couple of weeks as they just sink. So good odds for them. I got a question for you. I looked up some MVP odds. Jalen's been on a tear. Had a 50-point game very, very recently. Didn't like that we took him out. Probably should have let him get that career high. Is that a motivation thing, do you think, to try to get him to do it the next game?
I don't think it's a motivation thing. I think it's a basketball karma thing.
All right, which one of these MVPs do you think Jaylen Brown is more likely to win? Do you think it's more likely that Jaylen Brown could win the regular season MVP or win the Eastern Conference MVP, which means the Celtics would go to the finals again? I believe that would be his second Eastern Conference Finals MVP, right? Did he get the first? No, Tatum got that one, and he got the finals one, right? Is that how it went? Either way.
I didn't really focus too much on the Eastern Conference MVP.
Which one do you think is more likely?
I think the more likely scenario would be that the Celtics go back to the finals and that Jaylen Brown wins the Eastern Conference MVP.
Yeah, the odds would agree with you. I found plus 1,200 for that, which I think is pretty safe. I mean, let's say even Tatum is on that team. I think for at least this year, it's not like the things are just going to go right back to Tatum. I think this is going to be a little bit more of a Jalen forward.
Say that they do. Say that they do. When Brown won the Finals MVP over Tatum, and that was both of them, say at their peak. So I'm thinking Tatum comes back and he's not even anywhere. He's not going to be anywhere near his peak. So that's why I think it's more likely that he would win the Eastern Conference, because it's more the team has to get there, and all he has to do is compete with the other teams in the East. Where with the big boy MVP, that's across the league, and still a lot of things can happen between now and then. He had his really good month, and we've seen this from other guys, but it's at a much higher level. But almost like we're seeing now with some of the younger guys. You're seeing Walsh. This is what separates just average guys from great guys, is that being able to do this night after night after night.
They're currently the 3 seed in the East. Say what you want about the East. Certainly a little bit of work to climb up. Pistons are 3.5 games ahead of us. It's not unreachable. I just think Jalen is going to have a better argument for the regular season MVP as we go along, as guys drop out, as guys don't play enough games, as teams lose. I also think as we get through the season, we give other guys more credit. So like maybe I don't want to take away from Shea. Shea's really good, but if Chet is suddenly the favorite for defensive player of the year, are we sure we're just going to anoint Shea MVP when we've got, I don't know, other guys being considered for all NBA and him, Chet considered for defensive player of the year? Jalen's not playing with guys like that. And that would be a little disrespectful to Derek White, but it's just not the same. I think that's going to be a hell of an argument as we go down and we continue to win. That's the one thing we can't do. We can't be like that 6-8 seed where it's like, yeah, he had a good year, but it wasn't really like if we were in the top 3, I think there's going to be more of an argument as more guys drop out because he's going to play, and I'm betting on him playing more than anyone else is really how I think he can win this.
I think that we've made a push recently. Things are looking good. The 30-point streak that he was on, the 9 games, very impressive. I just think that it's not going to continue. It's not going to fall off a cliff, but I think that this is the first year he's had to be the guy like the whole year. And I think it wears guys out. And so I just think that probably him and the Celtics they're gonna have a swoon. They're gonna have a swoon. We just had a good road trip, and so the kind of default is, oh sweet, we're gonna go home, and you play better at home. But it seems like the past few years that has not been necessarily the case for the Celtics. I don't know if there's more distractions, if it's just a weird numbers quirk. But I think I agree with you that Celtics have to keep winning for this to even be in the mix. But I like that we are in January and there's at least a conversation happening because this can't come out of nowhere in March. It has to kind of start now. And now it's up to him. If he keeps scoring 30 plus points and so he averages over 30 and that's like a Celtics record, that's going to turn some heads, especially too, where some of the guys ahead of him, and he mentioned it, he said he thought he was the best two-way player. I don't know why this always has to be specified, where it's like half of basketball is playing defense. If you are just a liability out there, like you should be penalized for that. I don't care how many points you're scoring if you're giving up just as many at the other end.
No, and it's not just being the big man that does all the help. But the numbers for Gobert were always kind of crazy. But it's Jalen's guarding the best guy on the other team most nights, if not every night, or at least at some point in the game. Just everybody guards everyone on the Celtics. It's impressive.
How often does a guy that scored 50 is guarding the best guy on the other team?
It's a very 90s style. There's not a lot of people doing it. There's certainly a lot of people opting out of it. If other teams, like this is maybe a bad example here, but if Philly had Walsh on their team and Paul George was like, I want to do offense, defense for the last minute, I think they would. I think they'd put Walsh in and then put George in. Like I think other teams would use it differently. We don't do that. Jalen doesn't come out for offense, defense. We don't need that. He's in for both. Maybe that was a terrible example. I don't know.
I think that's why the Celtics have been successful both in the past and for this year, is because the guys that we're playing play offense and defense. It's not too far in one direction. You got Derek White, he's kind of struggling a little bit this year, offensive end. It's been better more recently, but if you look at his 3-point numbers, they're not as good. It's still high volume, but he's the best blocking guard in the league. Where a lot of times it's, oh man, this guy, our offensive, our number 2, he's not playing that well, and then he's subpar on the defensive end. So then it sinks the whole team.
The solution to Derek White is easy, though. You just add Tatum to this roster, and suddenly everyone's got to defend up again, and he's got the other guy and the other third shots. That's all he needs. He just needs to be freed up, and he's taking the shots he's supposed to be taking, and I'm not shocked that his percentages are down because these aren't the shots he wants to be taking. They're the shots the team needs him to take now that he's the number 2. And
it's perfectly fine, and this is where my expectations are, I think, very reasonable on, if Tatum is able to come back this year, we're not getting prime Jason Tatum this year. Hopefully in the future, that is something that can come back, but he's not the youngest guy. I think he's working very hard, but I mean, that's just, there's a certain level of, it's not an effort or a want. It's just how things work. But all he has to do is just be better than Sam Hauser. It's not like we're at the 10 seed and we're barely trying to make it. We're 10 wins over 500, and so we just need a little push.
The Tatum watch
anything
has begun.
Beyond better than Sam Hauser is gravy, and I'll take it.
Tatum watch has begun. All right, I got one future for you here.
Has it officially?
I don't know. He said he's coming back. What more do you need? I don't need anything else. There's no report. There's no like he did
I don't think
something.
he's actually said that. I think it's all been kind of like almost like the reverse of Giannis, where just enough people have said, "Oh yeah, he basically said it," but I don't know if he's directly said it. I think it's just more been implied.
He said it in an interview on a podcast. There's somewhere I've seen a clip of him somewhere on a podcast saying like, "Do you think you're going to play this year?" And he's like, "I expect to play this year." It's like that.
Yeah, expect. I'm waiting for the something a little more official, but there's no reason. I'm not trying to ruin your good time here.
All right, I'm unfortunately going to reward your good time here and tell you what my last new future is here, and it unfortunately revolves around some good Duke news and some bad Duke news. I think Kahn to win Rookie of the Year at plus 525 is not a lock, but it's only a lock if the thing that happens to every other award reason you bet, the favorite in Cooper Flagg doesn't play enough games, that Kahn's going to win. So like this is purely just thinking maybe Cooper doesn't bank enough games. Who knows what the rest of the season at Dallas holds. They're definitely in the mix. They're very reliant on him, which is probably good for him to be in this Rookie of the Year odds. But if he doesn't get it done, or if he doesn't play enough games, Kahn for me, lock for number 2. Just a lock. I love everything he's doing. He's getting a lot more attention, and it's very well deserved. He's very good at basketball, and he's going to be really good for a while. Any thoughts on rooting against Cooper and rooting for Kahn?
I see what you're doing here. You're trying to divide me. I don't.
It's by your own logic. You just made the same argument earlier.
I'm not going to allow this. I'm not going to allow this to happen. But I think I can't find it immediately. I think for Rookie of the Year there isn't the games played limit, but I think that Coop has maybe hit a little bit of a wall. That's what Jason Kidd has been saying, where I don't think this is going to be because Kahn just plays more games than Flagg. And at these odds, like you said, it's not a lock, but it's at least something to be interested in. These odds, especially with him, with these two and Edgecombe, have been kind of fluid. I actually was thinking I was actually going to go the other way, and it's funny that I didn't. We're just going to do a vote of confidence because I was hearing these, rookie wall, which is not a real thing, and I was going to do a vote of confidence for Coop.
No. Well, I don't have any reason to not vote for Coop. Like I don't know anything. There's no feeling of saying I think he's going to lose this. I purely just think if, I don't know, some knee injuries happened out. The Mavericks are 11 seed right now. That doesn't mean they're out of it, but maybe if Kyrie doesn't come back and AD's gone longer, I'm not saying they would shut down Coop, but maybe there's a little less motivation towards the tail end of here. We've seen Dallas kind of hang it up at the end of the year if it wasn't their year. So I'm just more putting that out as a possibility and a chance to capitalize on what I think is a pretty good lock at number 2. I mean, you could argue the Philly guy, Edgecombe, for sure too, man. He another making a real impact on a team almost immediately, and a team that's actually winning a lot more games. I like what Kahn does. I would like to play basketball with this guy, and I think that's a fun thing to say, and that's why I would give him the award after this. All right, any other NBA talk?
Just off of this, did you see Jason Kidd's quote about exactly what we're talking about?
The Cooper hitting the wall?
Yes.
I heard about it, didn't really pay much attention to it. I do think it's a real thing. I do think the season's longer. I do think this guy, look, he's been playing in a lot of later seasons too. Those add up, and he'll be fine. I do think you hit a little bit of a wall, though. I do think the schedule is hard.
Would you like me to read the quote? Because this sounds like it might be an Izzo situation of you assume it's going one way, but it's going a different direction.
Oh, is it bad? He hasn't been playing well? What did he say?
He's got to touch it.
Oh.
He's got to rub it and hold it. He's got to embrace it. That's just a mental thing.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
I don't know. One of those,
I don't know how to transition out of this now.
Once you put it all together, it's like, okay, but definitely out of context. It's just like, if you were to like read that off to a non-sports person, even saying like, oh yeah, this is what a head basketball coach is saying about his, star rookie player. It's just what? This is weird. This is a weird thing to say, Jason Kidd.
All right, I'm gonna be real professional here and follow the strangest thing Zach's ever said on the podcast with my Stranger Things finale analysis here. This was a generous finale, Zach. I felt more like an extended cut, like with the actors' commentary already. I felt like everybody was already in director's chairs in a circle doing live reactions. It felt like this cared more about the fans than it did the story. I think there was an obvious choice to kind of cut off an ending opportunity here that I think everyone would have accepted and everyone would have been fine with. But instead, they were very generous. And I think this is going to age really well. And this is going to be like a hug for fans that they get to know this whole second half and the second part that maybe I didn't like in the initial thing, but I think in the rewatchability of this will age well. But I also see this as just very generous for fans. I don't see many creators of shows that are almost prioritizing how the fans are going to feel at the end of all of this over what the best possible story ending would be. Or am I just, maybe I had different visions of that, but maybe this is the best possible ending for you.
Well, let's throw up some spoiler warnings here. If you haven't seen it, then this is probably the end of the podcast for you, or just power through and you might be able to spoil a little bit. Some people don't care about that. I would agree with you where it almost like they wrapped up the finale of the action like very quickly. They beat Vecna and the Mind Flayer, and I checked to see like how much more is to go in the episode. It was basically halfway through, and I do get it, because as we get more into this modern era, however you end a show is going to be like reviewed and scrutinized, and it's just as important as all the rest of the shows, if not even possibly more important. I'm even hearing things. I'm getting a lot of different stuff pushed my way, saying that Millie Bobby Brown is the only one besides the Duffer Brothers that know exactly what happened to 11, which I thought was kind of mean of them, because now, not only like in her like public life, like in her personal life, people are going to ask her about this, and it's like, guys, I love that you're interested in this, but like this is not real. Like the kind of part of this is what is awesome about these other shows, but we're just in such a social media of like, oh, I need the absolute answer. I can look up the answer to anything like in the world, like right now, and I get it instantly. But I think part of media, books and movies and television show is part of it. You have to figure it out on your own. And we're going to come to different conclusions on it.
It felt like this finale it felt like they wrapped everything before the finale, and then they got like a survey of like top 5 things we wish we knew about this, and then they threw it all in to the final episode at the last bit, where like they threw in like the watch mojo of like things we wish we had questions about. Like, here it is. And they just threw it all into the story, and it was nicely woven in. I don't know if we needed it, and maybe like I said in the rewatch, when I come back to this and it's like, well, I wish there was just a little bit more. And it's like, well, they gave us the little bit more already off the bat. But this really felt like that they were thinking so long term that like it was already a reunion of a show that was still happening. Like, did it not feel that way? Like the last bit?
The finale, or more the whole season 5?
I guess it's kind of the whole season, but I thought the finale for sure. It felt like we were already like, 10 years ago, and we're all in the same room together for the first time. And it's like, no, this is still happening. Like, these guys are all in the same room together because it's still filming. Like, it felt like a reunion still, though. And that's...
I understand what you're saying, and I think part of it is how kind of different this show is, that it started 10 years ago. There's only been 5 episodes. On average, like one comes out every 2 years. I think this show definitely has to be up there in the list of shows that got really hurt by COVID, because I don't think this was the idea. The kids got older. I mean, obviously it happens to everybody, but like older than they were able to, handle within the show. So it, ballooned out longer. I feel like the majority of people that I talked to asking about it, the most common response was, I liked the first couple seasons, but then I never got back into it. It was very few people that had said, oh, no, never saw it at all. But they definitely went hard on the nostalgia of look backs. Hey, that's right. Like, look how tiny Mike is. Like, it looks like a totally different person. So they did went that hard. I think I was surprised at myself, just kind of it was not a super sad ending, but I just kind of felt sad that the show ended. And I think that only happens when you really enjoyed the story and you really enjoyed the characters. So I think that's just a plus for the for the creators and really everybody involved with the show that kind of it impacted like my actual life.
It's a lot of years invested into it. It's I almost felt like the kids getting older though I thought got better for me because they got better actors out of it. It wasn't just kids anymore, and maybe that was the flaw of the later ones was a little bit more personal acting versus like real horror storytelling in kind of the early seasons with just kids. And there's a lot of just screaming and crying in a lot of the early seasons too, though, because there's just missing kids. And not that it gets any lighter as it goes on, but I kind of enjoyed adults worrying more about adults. That's the thing. And then they also really casted excellent next generation of kids, though. I think they deserve even more credit for that they casted these kids originally that aged out into what they are and what we really enjoyed out of it. But like the Holly and the fat kid, that was dipshit Derek.
Yeah. Delightful Derek.
Delightful Derek. I thought that was excellent casting and had a really good time hanging out with them. And that could have easily been a disaster. That could have been like, why are we paying attention with any of these guys? These aren't our guys. And it didn't feel forced at all. I think it needed it.
We already have the kids we're worried about.
Yeah, but we needed that though, didn't we? I feel like we needed this next generation. In at least this season.
I think you're right. It is going to be interesting. I've heard there's 1 to 3 different spinoffs that are going to be happening. So clearly people are still looking to make a bunch of money off of it. I am always hesitant. It doesn't mean that it can't work. We've definitely seen it with Better Call Saul, which lived all the way up to it. And I'll be interested to see what happens.
We're not done with this. There's no way we're done with this. When the finale was happening, or when we started to see more and more of the world of the Upside Down this season, I think I even said to you in person, was like, this is a universal ride, a whole world they just built right here, right? Like this is an amusement park. I can see this ride. I can see this world. I can see this stuff off the walls. Like I think this isn't going to die. Like there's merchandise to be made. There's money to be made. I don't know if it'll quite be that, but there will be more seasons. I imagine it'll be a different era. They were very 80s for all of this. They could go either direction with that. They could go earlier. They could go later. They could go a different region. We can get out of Hawkins. We could go to anything else that we could know just as little about. I think this is easily movable and can be redone again. I'm sure there's plenty of other monsters and Dungeons and Dragons stories that I'm just unfamiliar with that they could retell that they told this time. And I imagine we'll get more. So I'm not going to be bummed out when we get more. Are you?
No, I won't be bummed out. Like I said, I just always have a just healthy concern when they go for it, even if it's not an intentional, just a money grab. It's all right. You had the original property that I really enjoyed, and then when you go to make it a spinoff, it's a spinoff for a reason. It's like it's a facsimile of what already existed. And what happens all the time is when I first started watching this, it was 10 years ago. I was 10 years younger. So just the way I looked at things, the way I connected is just different. So when you follow it out, but if I were to watch, say this, like the same exact show, the same Stranger Things, if it were to start now, it probably wouldn't have grabbed me, the same way. And, that's fine. It's going to grab somebody else that's at a different point. There's different shows for different, points for people.
I don't think they'll do that. I think they're going to stay with our target market on this. I don't think they're going to try and grow a new, younger kid generation of this. I think we'll get more an adult version of all this. I think we could maybe get like a government show on that side of things. I think we could get Hopper and whatever the mom's name and in a different city. I don't know, something like that. And 10 years later down the road, and we're just in another generation and a whole other era with different music. Like there's easy switches I think they could do to all this. There's a whole bunch of Upside Down stuff. We could do a whole thing on Henry, a whole thing on maybe something before all that.
Yeah,
how
his origin stories, like that guy, rock in in the briefcase.
Yeah, that rock, like the guy in the cave. I mean, there's a lot of.
You can go more the military route.
Yeah. There's plenty of options and directions to go that I don't.
Kind of which way you want to go.
Scientists and. Yeah, there's also maybe there's like this area that's also been doing with all this that nobody knows about, like the Wakanda or something. You know what I mean? Like, what if there's a whole other spot that's all ahead of all of this and has known all of this for a while, and that we don't know about it, and we find out about it. There's other areas of directions I think they could take this that I think Netflix has to. I don't think they can not touch this. I don't think they'll let other people do it. This will always be the Duffer Brothers, but I think as long as they want to do something, they'll do something. I wouldn't be shocked if they just do maybe one more movie off of this before they do a spinoff.
I'm interested in what they have. It's I hate to compare it to Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, because that like is all the way up at the top. But there's a certain point where you deal with the same universe, but maybe I'm asking too much of you. Created this, can you create something else? Like don't just think, maybe you're thinking too small, but maybe I'm just expecting too much.
I think Netflix has already imagined the coming soon Duffer Brothers, creators of Stranger Things, blank. Like that sells itself. Who's saying no on the Netflix platform to that?
Not even that though, but they're going to do the spinoffs. So they're going to have the spinoffs, and they're probably going to have a Stranger Things theme park. It all works.
It does work. All right. Anything else for Stranger Things? Did we get it all out? You want to do nitpicks?
Just one last thing is how you know that you have a really good show is the show ends. It's finished. I mean, this is a huge production on getting this done. There are so many people involved with this, but even after it's done, you have people combing through every little detail and putting all these dots that probably don't even fit together to come up with crazy, not conspiracy theories exactly, but like crazy fan theories. Like I saw a crazy fan theory today based on all these dot connectings that this wasn't the actual finale. The actual finale is coming out January 7th, and that had something to do with season 1, episode 7, and something that happened there where it's just like I toasted the everybody involved with this. It's the other fans. They're doing it the same way. They're doing it in their own way. I am a crazy fan of other things as well. You're always, when your team loses, you're always trying to figure out a way of, there was a foul at the end. If they just review it, this will all change. You're hanging out with people that you liked, and it's over, and you're trying to figure out a way to hang out with them again.
You want more conspiracy theories? I saw one.
Sure, hit me with it.
So the song that's playing at the end where they're doing the graduation, and they like show the speakers, and there's like this little similar reaction to Mike reacting to maybe made him think of when 11 disappears in the last scene. The song that's playing, I think it's Kate Bush again. I can't remember, but whatever song is playing, every time it's playing when we think the character's gone, and then we find out in the next episode that they're not gone, because nobody's apparently ever gone in this show. But
yeah, right.
They came with like 4 other examples of it, and every single time it was like, no. See, they're not actually gone. So that I'm not saying that's defining or anything, but there was choice for this song that they clearly had overplayed it at this point to then throw it back in there again. I don't know if they had to, and if you had to, it maybe it says something. Maybe just maybe it does.
But that's what's awesome. That's what's awesome about this. Of stop asking, the creators, and stop asking the actors, hey, like what actually happened? Ask the writers. It's whatever you want it to be. The Sopranos ending. Did they all get killed? Did it just end? It's whatever you want it to be, and people will argue about it forever. And that's one of the things that makes this better. It's not mad arguing. It's just I think this is what happens, and this is what I'm sticking with.
So you think if you hadn't watched any of the previous seasons, and then you just started watching the last season, that maybe you wouldn't like the show?
I don't think specifically.
Oh, I'm just making fun of Simmons. He's like, yeah, I didn't get any of it. It's like, well, you didn't watch any of the first 4 seasons.
Yeah.
You can't just start the last 5 seasons. And think, I don't know what's going on. Like, what are we talking about?
We probably all have some of these blind spots. But yeah, when Ben Simmons said he was watching the finale, or no, it was the mid-season. I think it was like the mid-season, or I don't know. It was season 5, and with his kids, and yeah, he was saying how he didn't understand it. Where that seemed so obvious that, well, yeah, of course you're not going to understand it. You're coming into like the last 20% of a movie. It's just interesting on culturally what stuff he is super into, and it just like it is Bible for him, and no one can shake it. And then other stuff like this, it's totally different.
I just think it's such a miss that there's an 80s show, like an 80s based show, sci-fi show that his kids like.
Horror.
A horror, yes. Again, another that he's all about 80s horror, and for some reason he's gonna fight this one. I just think there's no case for it. Like, this is him just going against the pop culture stream, and I don't know why. It seems very unnecessary. It seems like an easy
I think
connection.
sometimes he does like to be a contrarian on this sort of thing, and so I get it. I get that part in general, but I agree with all of the things you said. But really, the biggest one being that his kids were into it and have been into it for a while, where it just seemed like an easy, hey, here's something I'll like give like a chance to. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. That's fine. Where I had said, if I started watching it right now, there's a chance that I wouldn't connect with it the same. But if there were people in my life that were really into it, it's like, well, at least I'll give it a chance. And if they like it, maybe you're into it a little bit more.
I think it's as generational of a compromise as you could have made. This is a handshake that he's not going to get. Think of the movies he'd asked them on the rewatchables to watch, like his kids. Like that. I think
true. Yeah,
way tougher.
Hey, watch this. Like, this is really cool, and they stick around, for 20 minutes. And
yeah, this is way more in his lane than anything he's trying to force them to be in his lane. Like, it's fine. I thought that was silly. The other crazy thing, the Ringer's full of all crazy people. Apparently, a bunch of respectful people saying good things about TV and movies out there, and then you have the fantasy podcast guy. He's watching The Sopranos out of order. Like who's doing that? What? That's a crazy person. Just randomly watching Sopranos episodes out of order, like they're Seinfeld episodes, and there's no connection between them. These are insane people.
I think I missed this. That is an interesting way of doing it, and you're saying this is the first watch through. This isn't the way you will.
No. This isn't
do a rewatch where you just pick kind of some of your favorites, like what you're in the mood for.
No, this is like, I don't know. I haven't seen the show. Let's just start here, and then I don't know where we left off. So this looks good. Let's do this part. It's insane. It's insane. It's also the crazier part about the story to me is that it's not even like a cable guide like schedule that you're restricted to, where it's like, well, episode 4 is only on right now. I have time to watch right now. I can't just manually go put on where I left off. You can actually manually go put on when you left off. So then to just randomly jump around to me, it bothers me that there are people in the world living this way. That's what I'm saying.
It's a crazy way to do it.
It's an insane way to get out here. Let's play the music and get out of here. Remind everyone to subscribe. Little column A, little column B. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow Zach on his X account, which is
Wicked Z-Man 24.
We didn't do the coaching carousel. There was a bunch of coachings firing from the NFL this week. I ask you, which job would you want that's available? We've got Browns, Raiders, Cardinals, Falcons, Titans, and Giants.
Falcons.
Really? They don't have a quarterback. Or do you like that they
Who would you go with?
I
think that they have weapons. I think the Browns have not been good for a very long time. They still have a ton of cap junk that they have to deal with. The Raiders just seem to be constantly in rotation here. I mean, maybe Brady can fix that, but I think he's just got too much stuff on his plate to really make a huge difference there.
I said the Giants, and I said just because they have Dart, and I think I liked the Dart quarterback over the mystery of what Atlanta might have. And now I might like the mystery if I'm the right coach in the right situation, but I don't know what that is, and until then, I think I like the Giants situation more. Now, out of the coaches fired, do you have a favorite of that bunch?
Well, they do have Neighbors, hopefully coming off of an injury, so there's a possibility of having a 1-2 punch there. But I don't know. They keep winning these games at the end of the year. Where are you tanking? Are you not tanking? It seems messy.
Of the coaches here that were fired, which one would you hire first?
None of them are jumping out to me.
No? Not Stefanski?
Throw some money at the Indiana guy. He turned around Indiana in 2 years.
All right. That's an argument. It's an argument to be had. I wouldn't rule out Dayball either. I think there's too many of these coaches that got fired, and they're all acting as if there's so many good options out there. Getting rid of guys just to get rid of guys. I don't know. Can't say I would have did it. I think there's a lot of premature firing between all these guys here. But we'll talk about who takes their spots and other updates next week. Hopefully a successful Patriots weekend. Anything else for the people out there?
Go Pats!
Go Pats.
Little column A, little column B.